U.S. Attorney's standoff. Attorney General William Barr's move to force out Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. Attorney in Manhattan overseeing key prosecutions of Donald Trump's allies. Why he's not going quietly.
Ready for the rally, the first one for President Trump since the pandemic began. Masks optional. Trump supporters camping out for days. Many brushing off health concerns.
There is absolutely nothing for us to be afraid of.
But not everyone says he's welcome. Plus, we'll hear from a congresswoman who will be at the rally tonight.
Cases climbing, the new warning from the World Health Organization about the pandemic's new and dangerous phase, Florida and Texas breaking records, and the setback for Major League Baseball with training camps reportedly closed.
Former officers past, what we're learning about Garrett Roth, charged with murdering Rayshard Brooks. His attorney's take on the body camera footage.
That's not running away, that's turning to fight.
And why Roth was moved from his jail cell.
And wildfires raging, flames tearing across parts of Arizona with temperatures in the triple digits. Will the forecast help firefighters trying to get them under control?
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning. In case you didn't know, it's the first day of summer. Yeah, and there is plenty of heat in the news atmosphere.
Indeed. Tonight in Tulsa, President Trump will be holding a massive rally, even as cases of the coronavirus are on the rise in Oklahoma and elsewhere in America overnight. The president predicted it would be a, quote, wild evening in Tulsa and said that people should, and I'm quoting here again, do what they want when it comes to wearing masks.
And there is more breaking news overnight when it comes to the president. We learned that Trump's Attorney General, William Barr, has abruptly moved to fire the U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, who is overseeing key prosecutions of Trump allies and investigating the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. And so we begin this morning with ABC's Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, in Washington with more. Pierre, good morning.
Good morning. A showdown unfolding between the Attorney General and perhaps the most powerful U.S. attorney in the Justice Department ranks. The intrigue began last night when Attorney General William Barr put out a statement that the president planned to nominate a new U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, and the current man in the job, Jeffrey Berman, would be stepping down. A short while later, Berman put out a blunt statement in response, basically saying this was news to him and that he had no intention of resigning the job. Our sources telling us last night that afterward, Barr was moving to fire Berman, who has been fiercely independent as U.S. attorney, investigating and convicting the president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, charging wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein, investigating the president's inauguration, and Trump's longtime ally and attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
So, Pierre, with the U.S. attorney saying that he has no intention of stepping down, what happens next in this standoff here?
You know, there's a lot of intrigue here. Clearly, the president and the attorney general typically have the authority to fire U.S. attorneys, but Berman, after initially being named interim U.S. attorney, was appointed by federal judges in New York to be permanent after the president failed to nominate someone for the job after a lengthy period. Will those judges want to have a say in all this? And of course, now the critics are raising yet more questions about whether Barr is doing the bidding of the president, protecting him, and politicizing the Justice Department. But a Justice Department source saying last night that Barr simply decided on new leadership, that Berman, whom Barr had high praise for, had been offered other high-ranking positions at the Justice Department. In short, suggesting no politics to see here, Whit.
All right, Pierre Thomas with that developing story for us. Thank you. Eva?
Well, now to what's happening in Oklahoma and more than a dozen other states. The number of coronavirus cases on the rise as Tulsa gets ready to host a campaign rally for President Trump with thousands of people attending. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us from Tulsa this morning. Good morning to you, Marcus.
Well, Eva, good morning. This is where Trump supporters have camped out for days ahead of tonight's rally. And you can see them taking down the tents they had set up, now simply in chairs, waiting for the gates to open, where they'll head a couple of blocks away to the arena where President Trump will hold his first rally in months. The eyes of the nation are focused squarely on Tulsa, Oklahoma this morning, where officials expect up to 20,000 Trump supporters to pack into this arena in the midst of a pandemic. The state hitting its record number of coronavirus cases this week, and the mayor declaring a civil emergency ahead of the massive crowds.
We're here to support him. It's history. It's history in the making.
Those attending the rally at the BOK Center required to sign a waiver provided by the Trump campaign, agreeing not to sue if they're exposed to COVID-19. Are you worried at all about the spread of this virus?
Concerned about it, yes. So I've got to step out of my comfort zone and get here. It ain't just to support Donald Trump, it's also to support the United States of America.
The White House says there will be masks at the door, but there is no mandate to wear one. Will you wear a mask?
I'm not going to wear a mask.
Never.
There's more than a 99% recovery rate. There is absolutely nothing for us to be afraid of.
The World Health Organization warning the pandemic is entering a new and dangerous phase as hospitalizations from the virus increase in 17 states. Florida seeing a staggering 3,822 new cases reported yesterday. More than half of those infected younger than 40.
The median age of all the positive tests in the state of Florida was 37. And I can tell you with the cases we're seeing today or this week, which have been increased cases, that median age is plunging even further.
ESPN reporting Major League Baseball temporarily closing all spring training facilities after players from multiple teams tested positive for the virus, including 5 on the Philadelphia Phillies in Clearwater, Florida. Texas also seeing records. The number of those hospitalized from COVID-19 up 108% from Memorial Day. Many counties now making masks mandatory at businesses. And a reversal from Apple, the company closing 11 stores that recently reopened in 4 states as the number of cases rise. The Phoenix City Council approving a mandate requiring residents to wear masks. And as New York City steps into phase 2 of reopening, Governor Cuomo delivers his final daily coronavirus briefing.
By reducing the infection rate, we saved over 100,000 people from being hospitalized and possibly dying. Just think about that.
What we have heard from people here is despite any of the health risks experts say are associated with an event this large, it won't stop them from being a part of what they view is truly a historic moment, one they have waited on for months because of the pandemic. Whit?
All right, Marcus, more for us. And Trump supporters, as you mentioned, there are eager to show their loyalty to the president, but not everyone in Tulsa is happy with his appearance there. ABC's Rachel Scott is also in Tulsa with more. Rachel, good morning.
Whit, good morning. President Trump said it will be a wild evening. 19,000 people are expected to pack the arena behind me. Temperature checks and hand sanitizer will be on deck, but no plans for social distancing.
This morning in Tulsa, emotions are running high. Trump supporters camping out for days to be the first one in line for the big event.
I'm from San Diego, so it's not a local trip for me. I took time off from work to come here for this rally.
T.W. Shannon, a Republican who grew up in Oklahoma, is working with the Trump campaign to re-elect the president.
I'm excited that the president's chosen Tulsa, Oklahoma to have his first rally, and I think it's going to do nothing but highlight the really positive things.
But in the historic Greenwood district, some residents and business owners told me they disagree. Is the president welcome in Greenwood?
Unequivocally, the president is not welcome in Greenwood.
For 85-year-old Bobby Eaton, who has lived in Tulsa all his life, strife is deeply rooted in Oklahoma, tracing back to 1921. The year of the Tulsa Race Massacre, where white mobs laid waste to this area known as Black Wall Street. Survivors were forced into silence.
You're still hurting, Bobby.
I'm supposed to hurt. All of those people massacred.
Adding to the discord, the president tweeting Friday, any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes will not be treated like you have been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene. And in an interview overnight, Vice President Mike Pence, when asked repeatedly to say the words Black Lives Matter, declined.
Black Lives Matter. Can you say those words?
All of us are created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. And so all lives matter in a very real sense.
And a curfew was initially enacted for this area, but the mayor reversed course at the request of Secret Service. Now, as for President Trump, he said he does not plan on wearing a mask. He believes he is not in danger, and many of his supporters that we talked to agree they do not plan on wearing one either. Dan?
Rachel Scott, thank you very much. And shortly before we came on the air, I spoke with Republican Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, who will be at that Trump rally tonight. Representative Lesko, thanks for joining us this morning. So many people worry right now about the health indicators as we head into this event. Infections on the rise in 17 states, including where you are right now in Oklahoma. What do you say to people who worry that this event will spread the coronavirus?
Well, I think the Trump administration and the campaign is doing all it can by doing temperature checks and handing out masks. I myself am going to wear a mask today because that's what I usually do. Now, it's also the protesters and the people that are marching, that's also a concern too. So everyone just needs to try to stay healthy, and we're going to get through this. I think it's going to be an exciting event. I can't wait.
You say the administration is doing, I believe the words you used were all it can to make sure this is a healthy event. However, overnight in an interview, the president said that people should, and I'm quoting here, do what they want when it comes to wearing masks. Do you think masks should be mandatory?
No, I don't think they should be mandatory. I think people can choose for themselves. They chose to come to the campaign. They choose to march and protest. And so we don't live in communist China, but people should do the right thing and try to keep healthy. And I think people are responsible.
Do you personally worry at all about bringing the virus back to your home state of Arizona, where infections are also really on the rise right now?
Well, I'm really staying quite careful because I travel a lot back and forth to Washington, D.C. So I make sure I follow all the CDC guidelines and try to stay as healthy as possible. And of course, I usually always wear a mask when I go out to the grocery store and that type of thing, because just in case I'm sick, I don't want to spread it to other people.
Overnight, Vice President Mike Pence made some news when he refused in an interview to say the words Black Lives Matter. What about you? Do you believe Black Lives Matter?
Of course, Black Lives Matter. I have 2 grandsons who are black. Their lives matter. My lives matter. White lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. Asian lives matter. Native American Indian lives matter. Everybody's lives matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter.
Representative Lesko, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time on a Saturday morning, and stay safe and healthy in Tulsa.
Thank you so much.
She basically, at the end of the interview, we didn't put this on, she said the words that are sometimes controversial, which is all lives matter. But a lot of people in the Black Lives Matter movement say that's missing the point.
It'll be a big day in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's no question about that. Dan, thank you for that interview. Now to the battle in federal court over the tell-all book by President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. The president's lawyers trying to block the release of the book due out on Tuesday. ABC's Martha Raddatz has more.
As President Trump fumes over John Bolton's book, a remarkable statement from former acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, who is still serving in the administration.
I think if there was one criticism that I would level against the president is that he didn't hire very well.
Bolton is only the latest member of Team Trump to turn against the president. In his new book, The Room Where It Happened, he portrays Trump as inept and singularly focused on his own re-election.
You described the president as erratic, foolish, behaved irrationally, bizarrely. You can't leave him alone for a minute. He saw conspiracies behind rocks and was stunningly uninformed. He couldn't tell the difference between his personal interests and the country's interests.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job. There really isn't any guiding principle that I was able to discern other than what's good for Donald Trump's reelection.
The president's team livid. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calling Bolton a traitor, accusing his former colleague of spreading lies, fully spun half-truths, and outright falsehoods. Vice President Pence's national security advisor, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, said Bolton will go down in history as the Benedict Arnold of national security advisors. But with the publication of Bolton's new book just days away, Justice Department lawyers are trying to convince a federal judge to block its release, arguing the book contains classified information. Bolton denies this, and the judge noted copies are already in circulation, saying the horse seems to be out of the barn. No word yet on when he'll rule. Whit?
All right, Martha, thank you very much. And Martha's full exclusive interview with John Bolton is airing in a 1-hour special tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on ABC. Eva?
Not a new development in the death of Breonna Taylor, the black woman killed in her home as police served a no-knock warrant. Louisville authorities moving to fire one of the officers involved. ABC's Zachary Quiche has more.
Say her name. Her name and her story have become synonymous with the moment and the movement for justice. This morning, almost 3 months after Breonna Taylor was shot and killed by police as she laid in bed, one of the 3 officers involved in the shooting has been fired.
Chief Schroeder is today initiating termination procedures against Louisville Metro Police Officer Brett Hankinson.
The FBI was back at Breonna's apartment Friday, continuing their investigation. Brett Hankinson was part of the team who executed a since-outlawed no-knock search warrant back on March 13th. Protesters in the state of Kentucky and across the nation have called for all the officers to be fired and charged with murder.
The Public Integrity Unit determined that he used excessive force and was reckless in firing the shots into Breonna's home.
With pressure mounting, an incident report was released last week. It details Taylor's injuries as none despite her death. The Louisville Metro Police Department also checks no when it came to the question of force entry. Authorities say Officer Hankinson showed extreme indifference to human life and that his actions were a shock to the conscience. Taylor, an EMT with dreams of becoming a nurse, was fatally killed when she was shot 8 times.
I think it's insane. Why would you want to enter into a home in the middle of the night without announcing yourselves?
The lawyer representing Breonna Taylor's family calls the firing of this officer a small victory, but they're asking for full accountability. Now, those other 2 officers have been reassigned, but they remain on the force. Dan?
Family wants full accountability. Zachary, thank you very much. We're going to switch gears now and turn to the weather. There are several breaking stories on this first day of summer. Fires in the southwest, severe weather possible in the plains on Father's Day, and dangerous heat out west. Rob is covering it all from Norwalk, Connecticut. Rob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. It's going to be toasty here in the Northeast as well. As you mentioned, first day of summer coming in. Summer-like heat across the Southwest has only allowed some of those fires, to grow. The Bighorn fire in Arizona has actually seen containment drop overnight, and you see the flames firing up there near Tucson. 37,000 acres burning, and it had nearly 1,000 personnel trying to fight this fire both on the ground and from the air. But as mentioned, they've lost containment. And weather conditions are not going to help much today. We're looking at dry air. We're looking at heat. We're looking at breezy conditions, all of which don't bode well for firefighters. And temperatures will remain at or above 100 degrees, not just in Tucson, not just in Phoenix, but from Fresno all the way back through Texas. And for California, northern and central California and the valleys, you're under excessive heat watch beginning Monday and lasting through Thursday. So the heat in places like Redding and Sacramento and Bakersfield will only build as we head towards the middle and end part of the week. Let's check what's happening nationally weather-wise. Time now for a look at your local forecast.
Today at 5:43 p.m., where summer officially begins in the northern hemisphere. We'll see temperatures approaching the lower 80s through the afternoon, and yes, again, chances for some late day scattered showers and storms. Some of those could be some heavy rain-making storms as well. For Father's Day, a little bit warmer into the mid-80s. Do have some isolated storms through the afternoon, back around 90 degrees Monday through Wednesday of next week. I'll have more on that in the extended outlook on Good Morning Washington at 8.
We are right next to a boat launch here in Norwalk, Connecticut, which is getting very active. And Dan, now that you've fled to Connecticut, I'm waiting for your boat to be launched here. What, the USS Zen, USS 10%, the Buddha?
He'll need a captain for that vessel.
Yes.
You know that much.
I'm more of a passenger than a skipper.
We see that. We'll take
We'll have a 3-hour tour together.
There we go. Perfect.
All right.
Thanks,
Sounds
Rob.
good, guys.
Well, the national uprising over police violence against black people has brought renewed significance to Juneteenth, the holiday black Americans have celebrated for years to mark the end of slavery. Janae Norman has a look at how Americans celebrated the day in this an extraordinary year. Good morning, Janae.
Eva, good morning. It's absolutely an extraordinary year. While so many Americans have celebrated Juneteenth with their family for more than a century, this year major companies, more states, and more Americans joining in the celebration of this important day in American history. Across the country, countless Americans celebrating Juneteenth like never before. From coast to coast, chants protesting the killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, calling for change.
Juneteenth
is the day that African Americans commemorate and celebrate the promise of freedom
while celebrating